Well guys, I'm back in the shop again today, working on our new project, getting ready to start here. So my truck, as you can see, I've got some damage here in the grill and the front end area. 8 months ago, I think it was. This is July and it was in November. I was going to a house project early one morning and a little buck popped out in front of me and I gave him a ride. And I was really fortunate because all I did was basically break up some plastic on the front of the truck. There's some trim pieces here. Both of those got busted out. The license plate bracket, which I'm not gonna worry about, but this trim piece that goes behind the license plate bracket got cracked. The grill is toast, and then probably the biggest thing is this louver deal that sits back here that opens and closes. I think it works based on ambient temperature maybe, just to help your engine warm up quicker. Anyway, this thing got busted, the frame's cracked, and this thing was actually, the actuator that's supposed to turn these louvers was going crazy. So I pulled somewhere in here, I pulled the wire and disconnected that thing. So I just basically have it wide open right now. But anyway, so the story is I took this thing to, called insurance, did all that, brought it into the body shop. They did an estimate and they called me, I don't know, it was probably, a couple, 3 weeks later, something like that, and said that they were ready to do it. So I brought it in to the shop, and it was probably longer than 2 or 3 weeks. I don't know, it was a long time ago. Anyway, I brought it into the shop. It sat there for a day or two. They called me and they said, okay, we're missing some parts. And some part, they didn't know when they were gonna be able to get it. So, I gotta have a vehicle. So I went back and got it. And then supposedly the part came in, but then they had a bunch of staffing issues at the body shop. One of the guys, a couple guys were sick, COVID was going through, it was kind of a mess and they were all backed up. It's a small body shop that I was using. So I said, no big deal, I could drive it the way it is. So then months and months and months go by and they're never getting to it. So I finally decided, I don't know, this spring sometime, that heck with it. I got to looking at it a little bit closer and I decided I'm just gonna fix it myself. So, I kind of showed you most of the parts. So I've already ordered up the, like these things. Very simple. That pops into place. Can't get any easier than that. I found probably the most expensive thing was this grill. And this grill, how much was that grill? $1,000 maybe, something like that. 800, can't remember, it was a bunch. But I found one, I was checking all around and I found one at a salvage yard not too far from here. And well, it was like 3.5, 4 hours. But anyway, I found one at a salvage yard, perfect condition. This thing is in better condition than my original was before I ever hit a deer. There's not a scratch on it. So I got that, and I can't remember, it's been so long since I bought these parts, but I saved several $100s on that. And then I've got the louver thing is in that box. I think I ended up ordering that new, I'm pretty sure. So I've got all the parts to put this thing back together. I just have to tear it apart. There's a couple things that I'm not gonna do. Like for example, when he came around, apparently his antler put a ding in my, that fender lip there. I'm not gonna worry about that. And then they were going to, trying to think what they were gonna do. I think they were gonna paint the bumper. There's a little, this was bent just a little bit, this tab that the trim piece goes into. I'm gonna bend this out, but I think they were gonna paint the bumper. I think this plastic piece here, they were either going to, I'm not sure if they're gonna replace that or repaint it. Maybe they're gonna repaint it. It's got just a small, again, probably from his antler or a hoof or something. It's got a small little gouge in it. The truck's got 98,000 miles on it. So, nobody would expect it to be perfect. So there's a couple things that I'm not gonna do on here. I'm not planning to do any paint work. Obviously the labor's all gonna be done by me. So I'm not paying for that. I think I should have written these numbers down. Maybe I'll try to go back and track them down. But by the time I found parts because I was, you know, the biggest ticket item. I saved several $100s on being able to find that used grill. I think I'm saving like $1,500 or something like that after I pay my $500 deductible. If I have that right, I think so. I think I was saving like $2,000. You know, take out my $500 deductible, and I think I put $1,500 in my pocket. So, you know, for the little bit of work this is, it really only makes sense, I think. So, I don't think this is gonna be too difficult. I fixed that thing. That was a deer hit that I repaired. That blue one up there was a deer hit that I fixed. So if I could figure those out, I'm sure I could figure this out. So I'm gonna start tearing into this thing and see how difficult. The outer trim pieces are gonna be super easy. I don't know how difficult it's gonna be to get that, you know, that louver thing out, but I don't think it'll be too hard. So I'm gonna set up a camera and I'll start pulling plastic off and see what it looks underneath there. All right, the first thing I need to do is get this bumper cover off, this top plastic bumper cover, because the grill fits in behind that. So I've already taken these, just the end of these lips off. I assume these just pop in here. Gravel road mud everywhere, of course. All right, so I have to figure out how to get this grill off of here. So I've got some up on the top. Got some of those push pin things. I'll have to go look at the other one and see what the back looks like. I think for the most part this grill just kind of pops in here, and then there's some screws that hold the top in. But let me do a little more shrapnel from the accident. I'll do a little bit of looking and figure out how this thing comes out of here. I don't know what the service manual says to take that out, but I got it. There's these slide clips here that are kind of tricky. Got them on both sides, and I don't know, you can slide it left and slide it right, and that's how I got it out. I'm not sure how to go back in. I'll have to figure that out. But anyway, grill's out in a couple pieces, a few pieces. Now you can see better the damage to this louver thing. This frame just cracked right in the middle. At first I thought these things were just kind of popped out, and I tried fixing it, and then I realized that this thing was cracked, so I had to get that whole unit. But actually, I think this piece might be easier to come out than the grill, I hope. So let's see how that works. All right, so here's, I said to pull that top plastic piece off of there. Looks like this is how this louver deal is actually held in here. There's 4 probably 10mm bolts in the top, and there's just looks like some Christmas trees in the bottom. I think it's mostly these bolts. I don't know, pull these off and see how loose it gets. Of course it's a 10mm. Car manufacturers love 10mm. Well, it's very loose. Nope, I found a couple bolts on the bottom. Look at that. I don't know if you can see that, where I'm focused on, but it's out. That wasn't bad at all. So I'm gonna look around here and see if there's any other broken pieces of plastic. I don't think there are. And I'm gonna start to reassemble. All right, so I've got that louver basically just sitting in there right now. It was pretty straightforward, really. I just had to, there were a number of things that I had to take off of the old, the other piece. There's some, like, I don't know, kind of prongs here that go into these holes to hold things in place. And then there's basically just some plastic. These fins on the side, here and here, and then these clips that I was struggling with. This is what partially what holds the grill on. Those are what I was kind of struggling with before. So had to put those on there. Now this thing is just going to fit into place. I'll get this tucked back down where it belongs, and I'll go ahead and reinstall all the screws and little Christmas trees that I pulled out before. Yeah, I definitely should have plugged that in before I put this cover on. And this wire has a Christmas tree that's supposed to hold it down there too. I might have to pull a couple of these pop pins out again. I guess I'm ready to figure out how to put this grill on. Should be real straightforward, except for these 4 clips that have me a little bit confused. Well, it looks good. All right, guys, so I've come to the conclusion that I think I did this wrong. I think that this shutter thing, this part actually needs to be attached to the grill on the bench, and then I think it all goes in as one assembly. I can't figure out any way to get that grill attached from the front. If I put it together as an assembly, then I can, these are just bolts. These clips are in bolts on the back. So then I can put those together from the back side, and then I think everything should slip in together. So I'm going to take this top splash shield thing off one more time, and I'm going to do this over. I'm going to assemble the 2 components on the bench, and then I think I'm going to have a lot better luck getting it in. I'll give you a better view of what I'm battling here. So these are those clips that I'm talking about, and that grill slides over the top of these. So these things actually, the outer clip is plastic, and it threads onto this stud, and this stud, it just has a nut on the other side. I'm still not exactly sure how these things are going to go together because I think they're lock nuts. They're really pretty hard to turn, so I'm not sure exactly how I get that little plastic deal on there, but I'll take them off. Get the grill laid on top of it, and then I'll figure out how to get it all connected. All right, grill first. Then louver. All right. We're snapped together, so that's progress. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how this is supposed to work. So now, let's see, where do those clips go? Maybe I was supposed to put these in before I connected those. Shoot, I probably was. I wish I wouldn't have snapped that together now. I may have to try to unsnap it. Okay, so after 3 or 4 attempts doing this the wrong way, I finally figured out how this is supposed to work, and it's obvious. So in case you're wondering, so the plastic clips are supposed to be on the stud, and they go on the back of the grill before you attach the grill to the to that louver. So those snap on there, and then you put the nut on the back after you put the louver and the grill together, which seems very obvious to me now. So basically these 5 clips here on the bottom, and then these 4 studs that I've been fighting with, that's what actually holds these 2 assemblies together. So now this is the top. Let's see, which way does this go? All right, got my studs lined up. Now, before I clip it together, I'm going to go ahead and make sure I can get these nuts on here. I still think these nuts are a little tighter than they need to be, but it's all right. I had to take this bottom splash shield and everything off in order to get this thing unclipped. I was fighting it and afraid I was going to break it. Once I took that splash shield off, it came apart real easy. All right, so I'll just finish getting this tightened up, and then we can install everything on the truck finally. Oh, this makes so much more sense. All right, guys, that is it for tonight. The mosquitoes are out and they're eating me up. So from here, I think the hard stuff is done. I'll get the rest of it assembled tomorrow, and we'll have a new truck. All right, guys, so back at it this morning. So next step is to install this upper bumper cover piece, but I think I'm gonna wait a minute on that. I wanna I power wash this thing really well before I start tearing this apart. And you can just see all the gravel road grime and mud and stuff that's built up in there. And that cover comes back in there, and there's a clip that snaps in. So, you know, that's just why every time you see, you know, an older vehicle with wheel flares on it, how they're always rusted out around the fenders, you get that grime in there, especially if you live up in the north where there's salt, and it just accumulates and eats stuff up. So it's one of the reasons why I really like how Ford has gone to the aluminum panels, because you don't really have to worry about rust, or you don't have to worry about rust. So I do like that. So I think what I'm going to do now, before I do that, pull it out and get everything all wet, I'm going to pull out this, I'm thinking this front part here should be really easy. So there's this trim piece, this piece that the license plate bracket attaches to, and this I think is just pop. Yeah, there's just clips. What's holding that on there? Yeah, it's just a clip. All right, so that comes off. I've already pulled most of these off. Two hands. That's what this stuff is on the floor here. So it looks like this is actually bent in a little bit. Should be straight. This tab's bent a little bit. So I need to do a little bit of straightening, just basic straightening here on this metal before I pop all this stuff back in. Get the rest of these clips out here. But this will be real straightforward, and I think this will be done in no time. All right, so I hosed off the truck, got the mud out. I hosed off this little front bumper cover here, got the mud off. And then I also, when I took this off, there's two pins, little plastic, you know, push pins, clips, that came out of that fender flare and stayed in this bumper cover. But I took those off, put them back on the flare, and then they'll pop into here. So I'm thinking this should go on relatively easily once I find the right configuration here. I should look at this down here too. So these things, okay, so that's gonna go in There's little clips that pop into the bottom of that louver. I'm sure this would be easier to do if I had the fender flare all the way off, but I did not want to take that all the way off. That's the general area. Just like that. I think the only thing left to do is I've got a couple of screws, little like 8mm or something that go up in the bottom. All right, what do you think, guys? I mean, come on. That looks good. And like I said before, these couple tiny little imperfections there and on that flare there that are basically, you know, not really noticeable for the front end of a 4-year-old truck with 80 or almost 100,000 miles on it, 98, 99,000. That looks good, I think. All right, so I didn't actually set a clock on this thing. I bet at the high side, maybe I spent 3 hours monkeying around with this, and that's, you know, I'm not a body guy. I just kind of pop things off and figure it out as I go. I don't even think it's 3 hours. It might have been like 2.5 hours or something like that. I did have time. I told you I had to run up to Minnesota to get this grill, which saved hundreds and hundreds of dollars. I mean, I think I saved, I think I saved over $500 by buying a used grill, which is basically in perfect condition. Might even been more than that. So first, doing a little bit of work like this, having a couple little imperfections, you know, that I can easily live with, to take basically the insurance cash out, put $1,500 in my pocket, and take a few hours of my work and, you know, 5 or 6 hours of drive time. Man, that was worth it. And it actually did not take as long as I thought it would. I would have done this earlier, but I didn't want to get in a position where I was without a truck for a couple of days or anything like that. You know, I was concerned that I might break some clips or something, but it went super easy. So another project done. Appreciate you guys watching. Hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you're interested in seeing more videos like this one. We'll see you in the next video.